Okay, so I want to make this video why I believe that brown and black identified people shouldn't support Nintendo because it's basically a white cast company. It's an oriental cast company. Because look at something like Smash Brothers. That is sort of a good sort of gauge or representative that Nintendo is like this casteist company because that game basically draws all these sort of popular characters from all these different Nintendo franchises into one game. Okay. And I believe they have like something like 86, 88 characters on the roster of that game. None of the characters are brown or black identified. None of the characters have afros. None of them even really have curly hair. They all have white coded features. Okay, and then the only character with like bold features is like Ganondorf, of course, and because of course it's bold phobic as well, but then his skin is like gray or something. But none of the characters are brown or black coded. Okay, so Nintendo, why are we supporting this sort of casteist company? Like you Oriental cast, you white cast people, would you buy a game with a brown or black identified protagonist, main character? Because one has to be connected to the other. So if they didn't make a character, like Link, Zelda, Mario, Ness, etc., if they didn't make a character because it wouldn't sell well, that means that you guys wouldn't buy the game, which is hella Castus. It's like this weird one-way support that is going on. So why do we buy video games that look like you, with people who look like you, or who are modeled after you, white-coded people, but you don't buy video games of people who look like us? Or the other thing it could be is that um they just didn't make those characters, right? Maybe you guys would buy it, right? We don't exactly know that. I doubt it because clearly, but maybe they just didn't make those characters, but then it's still cast us because why didn't you ever make those characters? And it's even more off because a lot of these games are made in Japan. Well, we already know like the Oriental cast basically worships white cast people, white coding. But it's like, how did people in Japan? Maybe I don't know about Mario. Was that U.S. based? But even so, a lot of these games originate in Japan, made by people with like Japanese heritage. But the only pool you pull from is like white coded people and things, like the Mario Brothers. What? Or even the characters that are games that are supposed to be like Oriental coded or supposed to be Oreo coded people, they have, blonde hair and blue eyes and green eyes. And people will say, like, that's stylization. Some weak excuses, but why don't you stylize someone with very curly hair or an afro textured hair or brown skin then and bold features? And that's not a villain. Okay. 88, 86 characters, not one is brown, but it's like there's like five, 6 or 7 blondes. Okay. Zero Suit Samus, Roselia, all these characters with blonde hair. Okay. why are we supporting that game as, um, literally brown or brown and black identified people, brown and black cast people? Nintendo's literally a casteist company, is practically active discrimination. Okay, and then you still have that sense where, yeah, we're in the game, but it's like how in these fantasy movies, we're the animals or the monsters. Like in these fantasy films, like white coated people are the elves and humans. We're supposed to be like the trolls and the goblins, like color cast people type of thing. People with bold features, because all of this is really just bold phobia in a sense. And it's like, what? It's like, yeah, we're probably supposed to be Donkey Kong and King Cruel or something, but that's not representation. Those are animals and creatures and monsters type of thing, which tells us how you perceive us. So how about we don't give you that gorilla money, right? Um, and then that just opens it where you see that in all these other franchises, like how Pokemon is they're pulling a Disney, how like Disney is sort of monetizing and exploiting our cultures while we get the short end of the stick of it and that type of thing. Like Pokemon is basically, vulturing off of all of our cultures, right? Like it's not as creative as I believed, but we're not in the game. And they're like, well, it's Japanese. Well, then why do so many of the characters have blonde hair and blue eyes and green eyes and straight hair and brown hair if it's a Japanese game? And then the games were sort of set in a European coded and Polynesian coded places, which was your chance to increase this sort of other representation, because there are color cast people in those places, and in the Polynesian people were, and there are lots of brown people, bold featured people. You added a bit of it, but it's like tally up all the characters in these Pokemon games. Like 1, 2, 3% are going to be brown and have bold features, and then it's like a stereotype. Like the one black coded character is like one of the only black coded is a basketball player. And then that's like a stereotype that some of these people have, and it's like, and there's like only like two afros in the game, and one's a Pokemon, and it has that essence because it's like buffaloant, and they have like that was supposed to be like a parallel to Tauros, and it's weird that they call that how they call black coded people bulls in like the BDSM community and that type of thing. Not BDSM, but like whatever, like using animal language for us. Um, and then you made a buffalo, you gave it an afro, and one of its attacks is an afro, and those are some of the only afros in the game. There's billions of people with afro textured hair, and there's two characters with afros in the whole entire Pokemon franchise, but there's hundreds of characters with blonde hair and blue eyes and green eyes. Even while you take our culture, even though Jinx was based on a black face doll, Halucha is like Mexican, Latino cultures. You have Egyptian sarcophagus Pokemon, like Ludico, again, Latino, Mexican culture. Like you're drawing from Polynesian cultures, Zatu, like a lot of those people have brown bold features. How are you using Zatu from literally from South America? I don't know how that works, but you have no one from people who look like they're from South America. Like what? Um, you know, that type of thing. It's like, okay, and then you can just look at all these other, and then Sony, is it called Sony, PlayStation, whatever? Not much better. Okay, why are we giving these people our money? it even extends into like if you go to Twitch, all the games are just white coded. It's always like medieval or this Renaissance aesthetic or coding. None of the main characters or antagonists are like how many popular brown, black coded characters, video game characters are there? Like Amazon made this game, The New World, as if we needed another sort of European coded video game in this sort of Casteist new world. What do you mean new world? Type of thing. But it's like everyone, it's like we're subsidizing casteism because it's like color cast people support Amazon, color cast people support Nintendo, but all you guys output is white coded, oriental coded types of content and media. Like, what? Like that makes no sense, and you can just see that it's like even like in Fortnite, like you'll see like kitsune stuff, like oriental coded type of things. But why isn't it ever anything from other cultures, right? There's all sorts of weapons from different African cultures. Like it's just that sort of stereotype type of thing, like very intricate weapons, distinct clothing in the Americas, in other parts of Asia, Polynesia, but it's always just European coded, white coded, Oriental coded things, even though everyone plays Fortnite. Yes, I could understand it on some level because there is this sort of skewed thing. Like in games like League of Legends, right? Very few of the characters are like brown, black coded people. But that's okay on some level because it doesn't have to reflect the world, it should just reflect the player base, right? Um, type of thing. And most of the people who play League of Legends in those similar games are white cast, Oriental cast type of thing. But that's okay. But there's still a other player base. So like before they didn't have a lot of like black and brown coded people. Like why you were, and if you were playing it, you were just subsidizing it, like, or it should eventually happen because yes, these other people are putting less money, but after a while, it's like okay, where's the content based on these other origins and cultures? Like it's not making sense, right? So, or there's like these games, like you could tell, like in like these, I avoid like most like MMORPGs and that type of thing from these different Oriental cast countries because you know that you're not like so many games that you can't. There's no option for like an afro or sometimes very fairly curly hair. Like it's always like lightly curly or very straight, fine hair. It's like okay, in some games so you can't even pick fairly brown skin. Maybe they'll toss in brown skin, but forget like bold features, forget afros. Like why would I play a game where you basically omit us? Even when there's like in the world there's tropical environments. Like and then they always but somehow they have blonde hair and blonde hair and brown hair and blue eyes and green eyes, but they just never happen to have afros or very curly hair or even curly hair or bold features or very brown skin. It's like you guys are just casteist and we're giving these casteist people our money. Not that it's not obvious because then look at K-pop groups and all these, there's a lot of people with sort of Korean, deep Korean heritage who have who are brown, but you intentionally have sort of pushed them to the background, right? To sort of capitalize on this hype around light features and your obsession with having white coded features. Like basically, a lot of genetically yellow people are white, right? They're castes. Why are we supporting castes? And it even goes into anime. Like, I don't know how. I mean, sleepwalkers, dreamwalkers, right? And then like patri bros, right? A lot of deeply patriarchal guys don't give a shit about anyone but themselves. But how so many brown and black cast people watch anime when we're not in it, or it's like problematic stuff. Like there's a character in Dragon Ball Z, black, big red lips, looks like some type of, like one of those like Castus dolls. They have blonde hair and blue eyes and this type of thing. Why do you? And it's worse because yes, all genetically yellow people, Oriental people, identified people, there are people with brown skin, sometimes very brown. It's not even just about people from other populations or genetic facets. I would watch an anime, like I don't watch anime because of that, but I would watch it if it was like characters with bolder features and brown skin that they don't have to put us in that, but they put none or very very few, but somehow they have characters with blonde hair and blue eyes. Like I guess a lot of you Oriental cast people look in the mirror and that's what you see, I guess. Or how you get surgeries to make your eyes less emphatic folds, even though that's what makes you interesting and stand out. Right? There's this still thing where it's like Oriental cast, white cast, and there's like overlap. But why are we supporting it? Because this it's not just about a video game. Then that's the ideology and attitude you hold in real life. Okay, that's going to spill out in all your other behavior. Like some of it's already known where we know a lot of you Oriental cast people, white cast people don't tell your kids not to date brown and black cast people and that type of thing. But it's like, then why is there this one way support? Why are we supporting you monetarily? And can you also stop exploiting our origins and cultures if you're gonna then actively discriminate against us? Like in like what was it, Star Wars or Star Trek? Star Wars, like they drew a lot of they basically directly stole like from like I think it was like Tibetan where they drew a lot of their like aliens is like they drew from these like sort of other less Oriental associated Asians, more bolder, you know, genetically yellow people. They stole from their culture to create those like outfits and that type of thing. Like same way Disney is doing. Like they'll present us like these color cast people, brown black cast people, like, yeah, the writer, the director. But it's still white cast people, Oriental cast people who are mainly profiting from this. Because even if you like take a look, like so all these video games that omit us, that's because if you go to these companies, they'll do a few token hires, but it's mostly like Oriental cast and white cast people working on them, as if other people can't be designers or programmers and that type of thing. Okay, they will only want to hire it with themselves. Like we're actively they're castes. Why are we supporting these companies? I think we need to break off and create our own everything, like media companies, game companies, not brown and black cast. I mean cosmopolitan, where it's like because in these companies, if you go the higher you go up in these hierarchies, it's just exclusively white cast and Oriental cast people. I believe we need something where it's like a where it's non-hierarchical and like the decision makers and influencers it's reflects like in North America it should reflect the population of North America, like no hierarchy and like I guess the core would be like the CEOs, this lead designers, that type of thing. looks like everyone in this country, but then all the employees look like people from these countries as well. Okay, not it doesn't have to be exactly. I don't support like forced diversity. Like there are a concentration in white cast and Oriental cast people. There is a higher concentration of people who say are better at programming. I'm not, but it's still like this. People act like it's like you guys are trying to act like you're trying to designate and dictate people based on that alone, where you think you can exclusively do that. A few token hires, like there could be a little bit more brown and black cast people in all these different positions, but you just prefer yourselves. Okay, and it overlaps with like boldphobia and fine philia. Like a lot of you fine types are concentrated in there, right? You weasels, you foxes, you don't like us wolves and bears and jaguars. We can program too, we can design too, we can do all of those things too, but you prefer, it's like, and it's not just you, that's just this culture where everyone wants this super insulated, curated experience when we should be learning how to, we need a more zootopia type of experience, metaphorically speaking of all this, of course, but like people are just too insulated, like type of thing. And that's not surprising. It's spilling out in all this where it's very clear that it's very discriminatory. Like I'm not buying anything from Nintendo. I'm not gonna watch anime. I'm not gonna play New World. Like even these other games are becoming suspicious. Like I was becoming suspicious of Valorant because again you have this sort of like you can change your aesthetic of your guns or whatever. Always just European coded, white coded, and Oriental coded weapons. I think they added something where I know it looks kind of like stereotypical like Mayan, Aztec, Inca type of thing. I don't know what culture it was from, but I was shocked. I was like, whoa, it's from a different culture for once. But then you see Overwatch, they added like this Kitsune character. It's like, um, okay. Because even that is still off. It's like two of the characters are redheads in Valorant, but red hair is like the most is like the rarest hair color. Yeah, there's two characters with red hair. How about we add someone like from another population? There's still populations and like origins we still haven't added to Valorant, but there's like um, you know several Oriental white coded characters.